It's been over 59 years since the time tunnel first aired, and the people who made that show have lived through marriages, scandals, heartbreaks, and transformations nobody could have seen coming. Did you know that one of the lead actors passed away just a few weeks before his 89th birthday? And the world barely noticed at first. Did you know that the show's leading lady, who lit up the screen as a scientist, is now living with Alzheimer's, and that the daughter who cared for her died first in 2024? Did you know that one of the actors who played a villain on this show suffered one of the most devastating losses a parent can face? His son died of a drug overdose at 35. This show gave us remarkable people. Some are gone, some are still here, but every single one of them lived a life far more gripping and far more painful than any journey through time. Stay with us. Number 1. Whit Bissell as General Haywood, Woody Kirk Whitner Nutting Bissell. Not a name most people know, but that face, stern, silver-templed, with the eyes of a man carrying the weight of classified secrets, was instantly familiar to anyone who watched American television in the 50s and 60s. He was born October 25, 1909, in New York City, into a medical family. His father was a distinguished surgeon. His ancestors had received military commendations going back to the founding of the nation. It was a privileged, academic, demanding world. But Whit chose the stage. He studied at the University of North Carolina, worked Broadway, and served in the Army. When the time tunnel launched in 1966, Bissell was 56. Most actors that age are looking to slow down. He wasn't. General Kirk became a kind of career capstone, the distillation of every superior officer, every uncompromising professor, every stone-faced bureaucrat he'd played over 4 decades. By then, he'd already appeared in over 200 productions. He'd done everything: mad scientists in sci-fi B-movies, renegade doctors, double-dealing officials. His most iconic pre-tunnel role, the deranged scientist who transforms Michael Landon into a werewolf in the cult classic I Was a Teenage Werewolf, 1957. Creepy, unforgettable. His personal life wasn't easy. He married 3 times. His second wife, Dilys Mary Shan Jukes, died in 1958, just 4 years after their wedding, a loss he almost never discussed publicly. His third wife, Jennifer Rainey, whom he married in 1967 during production of The Time Tunnel, died in 1993. He spent his final years carrying that grief alone with his illness. In the end, Whit Bissell suffered from Parkinson's disease. It moved slowly and without mercy. On March 5, 1996, he died at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, a charitable facility that has cared for aging entertainment industry professionals for decades. He was 86. 2 years earlier, in 1994, the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award. Recognition came late, but it came. He rests at Westwood Village Memorial Park in Los Angeles. His career spanned nearly 6 decades, 1933 to 1991. More than 300 roles, never a lead, but every single one was his own. They don't make character actors like that anymore. Number 2, Gary Merrill as Senator Leroy Clark. Gary Merrill, commanding. A voice like a gavel coming down. Exactly the kind of man you'd cast as the senator who walks into a top-secret facility and says, "Either you show me results, or I pull the funding." He appeared in the time tunnel right from the start as the man who set the whole crazy machine in motion. Small role, pivotal, and nobody could have played it better. Gary Fred Merrill was born August 1915 in Hartford, Connecticut. He studied at Bowdoin College, served in World War II, and got his start in military productions. Then Hollywood opened its doors. His defining moment came in 1950 when he starred opposite Bette Davis in the legendary All About Eve. A romance ignited on set. Both had just come out of divorces. They married in Mexico. She was 42, he was 35. Hollywood couldn't look away. They were one of the most talked about couples of their era, but great love stories rarely end quietly. 10 years of marriage devolved into scandal, financial strain, and brutal fighting. They divorced in 1960. Davis's biographer and her own daughter later described the marriage as emotionally wrecking. Merrill never remarried. He had a brief relationship with Rita Hayworth, then silence. He retreated to Maine, far from Hollywood, and even ran for the state legislature in 1968. He lost. His TV career stretched into 1980, with appearances in westerns and medical dramas, but he never recaptured the promise of All About Eve. Then came the diagnosis: lung cancer, a slow, pitiless end. Gary Merrill died March 5, 1990, in Falmouth, Maine. He was 74. Here's the cruel footnote. Bette Davis, his ex-wife, had died just 5 months earlier in October 1989. He barely outlasted her. They left almost together, as if even in death they couldn't quite let go. Number 3, John Zaremba as Dr. Raymond Swain. He was never the headliner, no Emmy wins. His name never appeared above the title. But John Zaremba was in the time tunnel from the very first episode to the very last. And his presence worked like the foundation of a building, invisible but holding everything up. Dr. Raymond Swain was the electronics expert who understood the tunnel better than anyone, and who, for that exact reason, tended to go quiet when the others kept talking. Zaremba played him with a measured academic restraint that barely concealed something deeper: genuine dread. He knew how it all worked. He knew what could go wrong. John Zaremba was born October 22, 1908 in Chicago, to Polish immigrant parents. Here's what makes his story interesting. He came to acting almost entirely by accident, and late. He started as a journalist, reporter for the Grand Rapids Press, then the Chicago Tribune. In 1949, at 41, he moved to Hollywood, just to see. A director noticed him at an audition and gave him a part, and that was it. Over the next 3+ decades, Zaremba appeared in more than 150 films and television productions. He played professors, doctors, government officials, always the authority figure, always the serious man with the folder. Sci-fi loved him. Earth versus the Flying Saucers, 1956. 20 Million Miles to Earth, 1957. 7 episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. 4 seasons of Ben Casey. And of course, The Time Tunnel. His final years included a recurring role on Dallas, 13 episodes between 1978 and 1986. His last screen appearance aired in November 1986, just weeks before he died. He worked until the very end. John Zaremba died December 15, 1986, in Newport Beach, California, from a heart attack. He was 78. He was survived by his wife Eleanor Deck Suter and their 3 children. Here's the kicker. Across America, more people recognized him from a coffee commercial. He was the spokesperson for Hill's Brothers Coffee for over a decade than from any role he ever played. That's the strange math of a character actor's life. Sometimes a 30-second spot outlasts 100 films. Number 4, Wesley Lau as Sergeant Jiggs. Few actors could put on a uniform and make every single movement feel military. It wasn't something Wesley Lau performed. It was something he inhabited. He didn't appear in every episode of The Time Tunnel, but when he did, Sergeant Jiggs was exactly what a career non-com should be. A professional who gets the job done and doesn't waste words doing it. Wesley Albert Lau was born June 18, 1921, in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, in a German-American family. Growing up, he wanted to be a writer. He studied playwriting at the University of Wisconsin. Then came World War II and a stint with the U.S. Army Air Forces. After the war, he earned a master's degree from the Yale School of Drama and trained further at the Actors Studio in New York. He became an actor almost against his own intentions. He simply found he got hired faster as a performer than as a playwright. That one practical discovery changed the course of his life. He debuted on television in 1957, and his face soon became familiar from coast to coast, largely through his recurring role as Lieutenant Andy Anderson on Perry Mason, where he appeared from 1961 to 1965. The Time Tunnel gave him Sergeant Jiggs, few words, total reliability, his zone. He also appeared in The Twilight Zone, Mission, Impossible, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and Gunsmoke. In 1960, he had a role in John Wayne's The Alamo. He married twice. He rarely discussed his children in interviews. Privacy wasn't a preference. It was a boundary he enforced. Wesley Lau died August 30th, 1984 in Los Angeles from heart failure. He was 63, way too young. It felt like there were still years of work ahead of him. He's buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills. His path, from frustrated playwright to master of the supporting role, is exactly the kind of Hollywood story that never gets its own biopic, but absolutely should. Number 5. Kevin Hagen in multiple roles. On the Time Tunnel, Kevin Hagen played villains, aliens, military commanders, showing up under different names in different episodes, each time projecting the same brand of compelling, slow-burn menace that came naturally to a tall man with a deep voice and a face built for authority. He was one of those rare actors that show creators kept calling back, even before they knew exactly what they'd do with him. Kevin Charles Hagen was born April 3, 1928, in Chicago. His parents were professional ballroom dancers. The first blow came early. When he was 5, his father walked out on the family. His mother, grandmother, and aunts raised him together. That feeling, being abandoned and deciding to survive anyway, never entirely left him. He studied at Oregon State University, then USC, where he earned a degree in international relations. He worked for the State Department in West Germany. He spent a year in law school at UCLA. All of that before deciding, at 27, to take a shot at acting. No youth advantage, no formal theater training, just a will to push through. He was discovered in a production of O'Neill and got his first TV work. What followed was a career spanning several decades. The Time Tunnel was part of it. But the role that genuinely made him a household name came later, as the warm-hearted Dr. Hiram Baker on Little House on the Prairie, 1974-1983. 113 episodes, the favorite of millions of kids who grew up watching that show. The man even Michael Landon's most stubborn characters trusted. He married 4 times. His last marriage, to Janet Nasland, took place July 1st, 1995. They stayed together until the end. Because the end came fast, in 2004, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. A year of fighting. On July 9, 2005, he died at his home in Grants Pass, Oregon. He was 77. The world didn't just lose an actor. It lost someone that a generation of American children had genuinely believed in. Number 6. Vitina Marcus saw it in Z. She had the kind of look that the camera couldn't stop finding. Dark hair, almond eyes, a dancer's fluidity, and that quality the Hollywood of the 1960s kept reaching for, but rarely understood well enough to use right. Vitina Marcus appeared in the Time Tunnel twice, episodes 24 and 26, playing characters named Sarit and Z. Both times she was magnetic. Her real name was Dolores Vitina Marcus. She was born March 1, 1937, in the Bensonhurst neighborhood of Brooklyn, in a Sicilian-Hungarian family. Her father was Frank Marcus, her mother, Rose. The stage name Vitina was a tribute to her Sicilian grandmother. At 17, she began studying with Lee Strasberg himself at the Actors Studio, the same institution that shaped Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, and Dustin Hoffman. Vitina was talented, but her look defined her casting. Native American women, exotic royalty, mysterious visitors from other worlds. On Lost in Space, she became the Green Lady, a character that fans of a certain age have never quite forgotten. Her personal life was rich and complicated. With Western star Rory Calhoun, she had a daughter, Athena Marcus Calhoun, who in 1987 was crowned the world's most beautiful showgirl in Las Vegas, and was given the key to the city. She later married George Graham, with whom she had a son, Giuliano Graham. In 1970, Vitina Marcus walked away from Hollywood. She moved to Las Vegas, worked as a cocktail waitress, and eventually became a real estate agent under her married name, Vitina Graham. A quiet, private life instead of the spotlight. In the early 2000s, she made occasional appearances at sci-fi conventions, always warmly received. As of 2026, she is 89 years old. She lives quietly and privately, and that's entirely her call. Number 7. Sam Groom as Jerry the Technician. Young, tall, dark-haired. On the Time Tunnel, he played Jerry the Technician, a guy stationed in front of blinking screens and massive computer banks. Not a big role, but a memorable one. Sam Groom was exactly the kind of actor-producer Irwin Allen filed away and kept coming back to. Samuel Joseph Groom Jr. was born June 13, 1938, in Columbus, Ohio. He came up through the New York theater scene, training at HB Studios. That's where he found his calling, live performance, direct connection with an audience, the psychological truth of a character. In the early 60s, he worked the daytime soap opera circuit, Another World, The Edge of Night, Our Private World, and became a familiar face to afternoon TV audiences. The Time Tunnel in 1966 was his first major sci-fi project. He'd work with Irwin Allen again, the TV movie Time Travelers in 1976, and Hanging by a Thread in 1979. His first marriage, to Kathleen Sullivan, 1962-1974, gave him 3 sons, Sam, Patrick, and Christopher. The demands of an actor's life put too much pressure on the family. After the divorce, he married actress Suzanne Rogers in 1980. That marriage also ended in divorce in 1982. In 1985, he landed the lead in CBS's sci-fi series Other World. The show was canceled after 8 episodes, but Groom played a fully realized family man navigating a strange parallel world. He also appeared in Law & Order, Murder, She Wrote, The Bionic Woman, and Quincy, M.E. As of 2026, Sam Groom is alive. He's 87. He teaches acting at HB Studios in New York, passing on what he once received from his own teachers. That's its own kind of time travel. Number 8. Michael Ansara as Colonel Hruda and the Curator. When Michael Ansara walked into a scene, something shifted. He was tall, dark-eyed, with a voice that carried the weight of a warning. On the Time Tunnel, he played 2 completely different characters in 2 different episodes, and he was flawless in both. It was one of many collaborations with Irwin Allen, who cast him in nearly everything he made. Mikhail George Ansara was born April 15, 1922, in a small village in Syria, then under French mandate. When he was 2, his family immigrated to the United States, first Massachusetts, then California. He had plans to become a doctor and enrolled at Los Angeles City College. He signed up for an acting class to get over his shyness. That one decision rewrote everything. His breakthrough came with the TV series Broken Arrow, 1956, where he played Cochise, the Apache chief. The role was a revelation. Hollywood never forgot him after that. The studio arranged a business meeting with a young actress named Barbara Eden. 2 years later, they were married. It was a luminous couple. Their son Matthew was born in 1965. They divorced in 1974, and then came the unthinkable. On June 25, 2001, their son Matthew Ansara, an actor and bodybuilder, died of a heroin overdose at the age of 35. His body was found in a car in a highway parking lot. Michael Ansara outlived his only child. There are losses you simply don't come back from. He married a 3rd time to Beverly Kushida and stayed with her until the end. In 1992, he became the voice of Mr. Freeze in Batman, the animated series, a performance fans still call the definitive version of that character. He played the Klingon Kang across 3 different Star Trek series. He remained recognized and beloved. His final years were marked by Alzheimer's disease. He died July 31, 2013, at his home in Calabasas, California. He was 91. He was buried beside his son Matthew at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills. Together, as it should be. Number 9, John Crawford as Henderson and other characters. He could play anyone. That was the gift, and that's what made him indispensable. John Crawford appeared in the Time Tunnel under several identities. Henderson, John Poe, King John, the Major. Different person every time, convincing every time. John Crawford was born September 13, 1920, in Colfax, Washington, a small farming town in the Pacific Northwest, under the name Cleve Allen Richardson. He grew up in modest, working-class circumstances, studied theater at Washington State University, and was spotted by a Warner Brothers talent scout. His career began in the 1940s and stretched across more than 6 decades of film and television work. Unlike some of his more famous colleagues, Crawford preferred the background, accumulating supporting roles that together added up to an impressive gallery of character work. He worked with Irwin Allen not only on the Time Tunnel, but across multiple projects, consistently demonstrating a rare ability to fit into any setting: ancient Greece, medieval England, the far future. Outside sci-fi, he turned up in westerns, police procedurals, and TV movies. His face appeared in Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Batman, The High Chaparral. He was one of those actors every American recognized on sight without knowing the name. And precisely because of that, he never stopped working. His personal life was busy. 4 marriages. After retiring in 1989, he spent his time attending film festivals and retrospectives, giving interviews, and supporting libraries and state parks. John Crawford died September 21, 2010, in Newbury Park, California, from complications following a stroke. He was 90. He left behind 4 daughters and 2 grandchildren. Nearly 9 decades of living, 6 of them devoted to the craft of becoming someone else. That's an achievement worth acknowledging. Number 10. Malachi Throne, as Hara Singh, Michaels, and Niccolo Machiavelli. The name itself sounds like something out of a thriller. Malachi Throne was an actor Hollywood knew as its go-to villain, its most reliable schemer. On the Time Tunnel, he appeared 3 times, in 3 entirely different roles: the formidable Hara Singh, the enigmatic Michaels, and, brace yourself, Niccolo Machiavelli himself. Not everyone gets to play that hand. Malachi Throne was born December 1, 1928, in New York City. He trained with the best theater teachers the city had to offer, worked Broadway, and by the early 60s was widely considered one of the most dependable character actors in American television. His range was genuinely remarkable. He appeared in Mission Impossible, Star Trek, Batman, the biggest genre shows of his era. On Batman, he played the villain False Face, and specifically requested no billing in the credits to preserve the mystery of his character's identity across both episodes. Best publicity move he ever made. On Star Trek, he played Commodore Mendez in the 2-part episode The Menagerie, and simultaneously, without anyone knowing at the time, provided the voice of the alien keeper in the original pilot, The Cage. He later returned to the Star Trek universe with The Next Generation. In his private life, Throne was a reserved man. He married twice. His first marriage to Judith Marians, 1965-1992, gave him 2 sons, Zachary and Josh, both of whom went into acting. His second marriage was to Marjorie Bernstein from 1992 until his death. His passion stretched well beyond the set. He wrote historical novels and was a devoted supporter of live theater. In the late 90s, he gave several interviews in which he spoke warmly about the Time Tunnel as one of the best experiences of his career. He described producer Irwin Allen as someone who genuinely knew how to build a sense of real adventure on a television budget. Malachi Throne died March 13, 2013, from lung cancer at his home in Brentwood, California. He was 84. He went quietly, the way most of his best performances did, without fanfare. But his memory lives in every scene where those sharp eyes appear and that particular smile breaks through. The smile of the man who always knows more than he's saying. Number 11. Lee Meriwether, as Dr. Anne McGregor, Miss America, 1955. Catwoman in the Batman theatrical film of 1966. Dr. Anne McGregor on the Time Tunnel, same year. 2 completely different characters, 2 productions, 1 woman. Lee Meriwether could do anything, and she made it look effortless. Lee Ann Meriwether was born May 27, 1935, in Los Angeles, California. She grew up in San Francisco, where singer Johnny Mathis was her classmate at George Washington High School. At City College of San Francisco, she studied alongside the future actor Bill Bixby, the kind of coincidences that only happen in Hollywood. In 1955, she won the Miss America pageant, performing a monologue by John Millington Synge. It was a sensation. Television came calling almost immediately. NBC's Today Show, where she served as its on-air personality for 2 years. In 1966, she appeared simultaneously as Catwoman in the Batman feature film and as Dr. McGregor across all 30 episodes of The Time Tunnel. Her character spent episode after episode reacting to screens that, as she revealed in interviews, showed literally nothing, just empty space behind the monitors. She played fear and urgency without anything to react to. That's not luck. That's skill. Life kept moving. Marriage to actor Frank Aletter, 1958-1974. 2 daughters, Kyle and Leslie, both of whom became actresses. A second marriage to actor Marshall Borden in 1986. The role of Lily Munster in the Munsters Today revival, 1988-1991. 8 years on Barnaby Jones. Emmy and Golden Globe nominations. And then, the silence that nobody likes to say out loud. In the late 2010s, Lee Meriwether was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. The public didn't find out until February 2024. Her daughter Kyle Oldham, who had been caring for her, was battling the same disease and died on July 31st, 2024. The mother outlived the daughter. Sit with that for a moment. A woman with Alzheimer's outlived the daughter who was caring for her. As of 2026, Lee Meriwether is still alive. She is 90 years old. She no longer makes public appearances. The disease continues its course. Number 12. Robert Colbert as Dr. Doug Phillips tall, broad-shouldered, with an expression that said, "I've got this under control," even when he didn't. Robert Colbert was the ideal casting for the scientist as action hero. A man who leaps into the unknown, not out of recklessness, but out of duty. His Dr. Doug Phillips was always slightly calmer, slightly more measured than his partner, and that contrast is exactly what made their dynamic work. Robert Louis Colbert was born July 26, 1931, in Long Beach, California, the youngest of 3 kids. He was a standout student, a track athlete, and graduated with honors from Polytechnic High School. Then came military service. He was stationed in Okinawa, worked as a typist in the military police, and spent his evenings hosting a program on Armed Forces Radio. One day, a woman from Special Services heard his voice and offered him a part in a military theater production called The Case of the Navy Court-Martial. That was the beginning. Back stateside, he trained at the Portland Repertory Theater and took on smaller film roles. Then came Maverick, where he played Brent Maverick, the third brother, twice. And finally, The Time Tunnel, the role that became the defining credit of his career. At 35, he was one of the primary faces of American sci-fi television. After the series, he kept working steadily. The Hunter, Knight Rider, Santa Barbara, The Young and the Restless. His last regular screen appearances date to 1995. He married twice and has 4 children. His first marriage, to Dottie Harmony, ended in divorce in 1976. After stepping back from the screen, he settled into a quiet private life. Golf tournaments, sci-fi conventions, fan meet and greets. As of November 2025, Robert Colbert is alive. He is 94 years old. He is almost certainly the oldest surviving member of the Time Tunnel's principal cast. The man who traveled through time on screen has become a living piece of television history. Number 13, James Darren as Dr. Tony Newman. He was already a generational idol before he ever put on a lab coat. James Darren was that guy. Dark, handsome, with a smile that lowered everyone's defenses, Italian roots, and a voice made for the radio. The kind of performer who made millions of hearts beat faster without really trying. Gidget in 1959 had turned him into a teen idol, but that was never what he wanted to be. James William Ercolani, that was his real name, was born June 8, 1936, in South Philadelphia, to a working-class Italian-American family. His grandmother was the person he loved most in the world and his primary source of drive. At 14, he was already singing in nightclubs. At 16, he dropped out of school. In New York, he studied under Stella Adler. The name Darren came almost by accident. His agent suggested taking it from the Kaiser Darren sports car. Columbia Pictures signed him to a 7-year contract. His records sold in the millions. Goodbye Cruel World, 1961, hit number 3 on the national charts. And then came The Time Tunnel. At 30, he finally had the role he'd been pushing toward, an adult, a serious man, someone who mattered, not the kid with the guitar, a scientist throwing himself into the jaws of history. His character, Tony Newman, was impulsive, passionate, always the first one through the door, the classic hero. And Darren played him with a sincerity that made audiences follow him into any era without question. His first marriage, to Gloria Terlitsky, 1955-1959, ended early. His second, to Danish actress Evie Norland in 1960, lasted the rest of his life. They stayed together until the very end, raising 2 sons, Christian and Anthony. He also had a son from his first marriage, well-known television journalist James Moray. After The Time Tunnel, he never disappeared. He played opposite William Shatner on T.J. Hooker, appeared on Star Trek, Deep Space Nine as holographic lounge singer Vic Fontaine, a character he loved as much as any he'd ever played, and moved into directing TV movies with genuine success. Almost nothing about his health became public. He maintained his dignity and his privacy until the very end. James Darren died September 2nd, 2024. He was 88. His passing was a real loss for everyone who remembers those black and white images of the time tunnel glowing on the screen, and that grinning kid from South Philly who stepped into it one day and never came back. The time tunnel is more than a TV show. It's a time capsule. Every one of these people carried a whole life inside them, full of losses, illnesses, triumphs, and secrets the camera never showed. Some went from Parkinson's, some from cancer. Some outlived their own children. Some are fighting Alzheimer's today. Some are living quietly off screen, and that's enough for them. If you learned something new today, tell us in the comments. Which of these people hit you hardest? Whose story stayed with you? We genuinely want to know, and if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. We tell stories that stick, not because they're pretty, because they're real. See you in the next one.